Daniel Halper is a contributing editor at the Washington Free Beacon. Joins us now live. Good to see you this morning.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you're there. You're in your chair. You have not yet boarded a plane to leave Washington, but a lot of other folks are probably going to do that. So let's take a look at what they're leaving behind, because there are some very important deadlines that we've got along the way. You've got the debt ceiling coming up, government run out, the FAA authorization, that goes away, national flood insurance expires, children's health insurance. I mean, that's just the list of everything that happens at the end of September. But they were going to give up part of the recess. Instead, they didn't get health care done, and they're leaving anyway.
Yeah, well, they're leaving anyway because they're not getting anything done. But when they do come back, I mean, there's all this talk about, well, maybe they can pivot to tax reform. Maybe they can lower people's taxes and do something substantive and come back to the table on health care. But as you point out, there actually isn't any time to do any of those things because all of these other authorizations and funding runs out, and they have to sort of take care of the housekeeping stuff before they can get to the other things. So there isn't much urgency on Capitol Hill. I think much to the frustration of Americans at home. And I don't think in the long run it's really going to serve Congress well just to get a couple more weeks in August rather than staying here trying to get these things done so they can actually turn to substantive things that people voted on in the last election.
I mean, at least from a PR standpoint, people would feel like they're giving up something and they're actually there and making an effort, although we know they've hit a lot of gridlock, a lot of roadblocks. Let's talk about the fact that we have insurers now warning of massive spikes next year. They say because there's uncertainty about what's going to happen with health care, in part, and also the other part of it is they're worried they're going to lose millions of customers who are now forced to buy their stuff. But with that in mind, is there added pressure, do you think, on both sides now to get something done? I mean, who is going to pay for this in the midterms if they don't find a resolution on health care?
Well, I think the pressure is only on one side, which is the Republicans. The Democrats, they feel pressure to stop anything from happening. But with that said, they do want to introduce their own reforms and their own ideas so that they can say that they have been standing for something and lay the groundwork for the 2018 to 2020 elections. If they can actually put forward substantive reform, substantive legislation, I think it gives them some sort of platform rather than just saying, hey, we're against Trump, we're against Republicans, we stopped everything from happening. That's not enough. They need something that they can actually stand for.
Yeah, and what people, unlike us who are so far inside the Beltway and covering this stuff all the time, may not remember is that there have been dozens of changes to Obamacare under both President Obama and then with things that got passed through Congress and made it to his desk that had Republican votes tied to it. I mean, both parties have acknowledged along the way that there are things that can be fixed about the current system as passed under Obamacare. You know, reading today about this idea that there were Democrats who wanted to make more changes under the last administration, but there was pressure from the White House for them not to do that, not to work with Republicans and do that. Do you think that, as you mentioned now, anything that they offer up would get serious consideration and could move the ball forward?
Not really. I mean, look, in the last administration under President Obama, they operated under two assumptions. One is that if they started tweaking Obamacare, then that opened that opened up to huge legislation, huge problems from the Republicans and Republican-controlled Congress, I should add, and that they wouldn't be able to control the process. They also operated under the assumption, of course, that Hillary Clinton would win. So any fixes they needed to make, they could be pushed off to the next administration when rates started to spike and when all those things happened. Obviously, those things didn't really hold, right? So now you're left is sort of in different circumstances where the Democrats have to put forward something. I don't think they actually are forming their legislation in mind that they have to get Republican support or Republican votes, and that even Mitch McConnell will bring it to the floor. Instead, they're just, again, laying the groundwork for 2018 and 2020.
Well, interestingly enough, I haven't gotten a whole lot of press releases about town halls or meetings with constituents during this recess.
No.
We'll keep an eye out for those because those could get really interesting. All right, Daniel, good to see you.